Welcome, pilgrims, to Elaine's Spiritual Lessons on Sacramental Living. We're using Jesus' parables. We will discern their meaning and relevance in today's tumultuous times. But before we begin our serious talk, let me ask you a question. How many of you actually, when you walk along the sidewalk, may pause, peer down, pick up a penny, and proudly proclaim, "A penny saved is a penny earned"? Saving things, accumulating stuff runs deep, not only in ancient societies, but our modern culture. Confucius once said, "He who will not economize will have to agonize." Dave Ramsey, who is a modern-day financial guru, proclaims savings must become a priority, not just a thought. You have to pay yourself first. Which brings us to today's parable on the foolish rich man, or sometimes known as the rich man with many barns, or I like to think of it as the rich man with the multi-storage units. What prompted Jesus to offer that parable? What's a parable? Remember, we talked about it last week. It's a metaphor or simile that shows something in everyday life from which you can draw comparisons. So what was Jesus talking about? What were his major talking points? Well, Luke indicates there was a multitude of people listening in. Now, how many is a multitude? 10? 100? 1,000? We don't know. But Scripture does tell us that there were so many people wanting to hear Jesus' words of wisdom that they were trampling on one another. So what were his major talking points that people were just, hungering to hear? First of all, he was telling them the dangers of hypocrisy when your words don't match your actions. Second, he wanted to calm them. He wanted to reassure them that the suffering that they were undergoing right then and there was temporary, and they should put their thoughts to eternity. What it's going to be like when they're with God the Father in heaven. And finally, he was trying to reassure them how much God loved them, that he even keeps in his mind the wild creatures, that abound in nature. For example, the little birds that you would buy in the marketplace, for a couple of pennies. How much more he treasures you, since you are made in his likeness and image. And it's within this context that some guy in the back heckled Jesus and said, "Hey, Rabbi, I need your help. Can you settle this dispute with my brother? He's trying to cheat me out of my father's inheritance." That was the trigger event that made Jesus offer the following parable. And this is what he said. "The ground of a certain rich man yielded plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, 'What shall I do, since I have no room to store my crops?' So he said, 'I'll do this. I'll pull down my barns and build greater, and there I will store all my crops and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have many goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry.' Oh, God said to him, 'Meshuggah, Meshuggah, Meshuggah. Okay, you fool, oy vey. This night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will those things be which you have provided?'" Let's look at a specific phrase within this parable. A a certain rich man. We don't know, was he young? Was he old? Did he have a lot of children? Did he have a lot of dependents that he was responsible for? We don't know. He just used the word certain. That's what Luke uses. So that kind of invites you to step into the parable. Let you be that certain rich man. And you think, okay, God gave me a brain that I can make plans. All right, and I had a good year, so doesn't it make sense to save a little bit? All right, for a rainy day. Sounds like a good retirement plan to me. But the problem is the emphasis. If you look at the words Jesus spoke, bracketing the parable, meaning what he said before and after. Before he began the parable, Jesus warned, take heed and beware of covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he possesses. And when he ended the parable, he said, so is he, meaning the rich man is a fool who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich to God. You might say, well, look, I don't have any problem with being that kind of person. I'm struggling. I'm just getting by. But Jesus says, no. As a human being, you like to accumulate stuff. We think that if we collect enough stuff, it will provide us with security. Remember when this pandemic first began? Come on now. How many of you ran out and made sure you had a lot of paper towels, that you had enough toilet paper, that you had enough hand sanitizer, that you had enough food and money? Come on. You were trying to buy security. And that was the flaw with the rich man, his emphasis on material goods and not on what he should be doing as a God-fearing man. So, Ramsey, you're right. We need to realign our priorities. But instead of just focusing on taking care of ourselves, we need to follow God's greatest commandment. And if you remember from last week, this parable of the Good Samaritan, what was it? To love our God with all our heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. So think about that as we continue through this Christmas time, this Christmas period. Stop thinking only about yourself and accumulating stuff for yourself. Think what you can do to honor God and help your neighbor. Might this change your behavior today? Let me know, because I do care. In the meantime, may God bless you, your family, and your endeavors. Amen.